So I was reading a little article there recently, and they were talking about this particular term, which I think is very important also for us to understand kind of what's going on around us in the world, right? And the term is worldview, right? How we see the world. How we see the world and what we consider important. You may say, oh, it sounds a bit philosophical. We do this all the time without realizing it. The decisions we make are based on certain things that we consider important, right? So, like what's important today? Well, equality, Jeannie, it's all over the place. Like equality this, equality that, Black Lives Matter, everything, equality, equality, equality. So we consider equality something important. Grant. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying that that's just the way it is, right? There we are. So equality. Equality is important. But you also see how, like, the number of gyms, for example, in even small towns and villages, they'll all have a local gym or numerous competing local gyms. Why? Because we consider handsomeness, beauty, important. Look at the what do you call it, cosmetic industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. Like, why? Because we consider beauty important. It's worth investing in. It's worth putting time into, money into, resources into. Go shopping online for where you can get the cheapest Botox. I'll give you the number later, lads. So all these these are things that we consider important, right? So we have like equality, beauty, autonomy, freedom, for example. This is a huge one, where in today's world, freedom, you see, we'll explain in a sec. Freedom is important, absolutely, but the way we see it today, it's freedom from all rules, freedom from all responsibility, freedom from everyone, everything, freedom to do what I want, when I want, how I want, with who I want, for as long as I want, with no consequences, repercussions, or responsibility. And therefore, like hierarchy and these kind of things are bad because they impede my freedom. Okay? So we make decisions all the time based on certain values, based on our worldview, based on how we see things around us. Okay? Now, the danger is if that worldview gets a bit skewed, if that worldview doesn't have our ultimate goal, our ultimate good in mind, it's going to lead to problems. Okay? This worldview, as I say, it's part of our culture. So we make decisions based on this all the time without even realizing it. But like there was a time in the not so distant past when it was okay to have slaves, when it was okay not to pay your workers. You know, in certain society, certain cultures where it's okay to have multiple wives or whatever it may be. You know, the worldview that we have now wasn't always the case. We're used to it and we've grown up with it, but it wasn't always that way. So, the danger here is if we take God out of the mix, if we take God out of this worldview, then our worldview becomes very centered on me. If I take God, then you see, God becomes our goal and he's what we're looking forward to, and he's kind of also who we're answerable to ultimately. But you take him out, and now what's the center of this worldview? What's the heart of it like? What's the goal of it? It hasn't got a direction anymore. It's not aiming to go from here to somewhere else. It's just aiming to maximize the pleasure of here. Because that's all we have. I'm not trying to get somewhere else. I'm just trying to make the best of here and now. So let's make me the center of the world. So my rights, my needs, my pleasure, my looks, it's all about me. Hence the iPhone and the iPad and the MyCloud and the MySpace and you can name a few more of your fandangled gadgety things, right? All these kind of things where even in marketing, we put me at the center, me at the heart of it. Because it's about me, because there's no goal anymore. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're not trying to kind of ultimately please anyone. We're grand just the way we are. In fact, you're just perfect the way you are. In fact, we're all perfect, so we don't have to change, grow, convert, go to confession. We don't need grace, we don't need sacraments, we don't need prayer, because you're perfect just the way you are. And yet we know that that's rubbish. Because we know that if I said to my teacher in school, Miss, my daddy says I'm perfect just the way I am. And she'll say, right, square root of 64, and I'll say, Miss, it's some breed of a number between 3 and 17. But my daddy says I'm perfect, right? Do you know what I mean? We know just because we're perfect, we don't get everything right. You make mistakes, you don't qualify for a team, whatever. We've got our own flaws. We know they're there. Okay, so this idea we're perfect actually isn't true. Now we're loved. Yes, that's absolutely. We are absolutely loved. We are absolutely wanted. But perfect, no. That's just a fallacy, because that stops us then from striving for more. Like we were saying yesterday, young fellas from the very, very small age, we learn that when you're playing games, football, hurling, soccer, even chasing games, anything like that, you have to push hard to not get caught, push hard to win the trophy, push hard to go through training in the middle of a miserable spring in order to get any sort of benefit at the end of the season in September. You have to push hard. You don't get it for free. And if you do get it for free, it's worth nothing to you. So, pushing hard, it's good for us that we have to make an effort in these things. Okay, so the worldview out there in our modern world is not God-centered. It's not. All the decisions that we make about what we buy, how we spend our time, all of these kind of, even equality, if that is not God-centered, then you start to have problems where everything is equal. Everyone is equal, unless you're unborn, then you're not equal. Where Black Lives Matter, which they do, but Black Lives Matter because all lives matter. All lives matter. Hispanic lives matter as well. Asian lives matter as well. Male, female, born, unborn, all lives matter because all life is imbued with this dignity of being created in the image and likeness of God. Teaching of the church since the beginning of time. So all lives matter. So saying one group kind of matters more than another, this is where things then, so because Black Lives Matter, I can burn out your car. Sorry, what? So all lives matter. All people matter because all people are created in the image and likeness of God. This is our Christian worldview, our Catholic worldview, that everyone is imbued with dignity by God. But you take God out of the mix and then there's no goal anymore. There's no destination. And then we start to get things wrong. And that's what we see out there now, where in a world where God isn't at the center, we start to do things that don't make sense, that are contradictory. So we'll applaud someone to the ends of the earth now for recycling and for being against the killing of whales, which we're all against. We like whales. But it doesn't matter that they were unfaithful to their previous 6 wives. That doesn't matter. They get the award for whale saving. Okay, they saved whales, but the ultimate goal here is that I'm responsible for my life before God. So when we receive this word, this truth, the gospel is explaining that not everyone is going to react the same way just because we hear the truth, just because we hear the message of Jesus. Not everyone is going to say, that's fantastic, amazing, I'll run with that. Some will say, yeah, great idea, and then the message continues, yeah, so because you follow Christ, that means you have to change your life. Oh, all right. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Okay, I like the whole God thing. I'll be back to you. All right? And, no root, no change in life, no conversion, no real faith. Or people say, yeah, this is fantastic, this is amazing. But then you say, yeah, but if you make these compromises here and don't pay your taxes and don't pay your workers, you will earn more in your business. Your business will be more successful. More success. All right? So you need to make a moral compromise in order to be more successful, in order to gain more money. You're choked by thorns. Even though your faith says, look, this isn't the way to go. Be honest. Pay your workers. Well, I like the whole faith thing, but that's going to cost me. Nah. So it doesn't work. Right? Then the seed that lands on the edge of the path. I believe a couple of years ago in the Alive O program, that was explained as the farmer goes out to sow the seed, and he's sowing his seed away, and he sees the birds, and they look hungry, and so he throws some seed in their direction, and they eat. And that's wonderful, because the parable then of the sower is all about feeding the birds, which, no, that's a misinterpretation now. It's a mix of the gospel and Mary Poppins. Okay, so we don't have Mary Poppins in the gospel, because Jesus himself explains this parable, where he says, the birds of the air who come down to eat the seed, they are the demons. Jesus says so. So, okay, So we have this initial enthusiasm in our faith, but then temptation comes. He says, well, you don't really believe in all that Christian stuff, do you? All that, like, be good to your neighbour stuff. And like, nah, come on, you'd be way happier. You'd have way more fun without the faith. Faith just gets in the way of fun. All right? So ditch the faith and have fun. Right? That's the demon carrying away the word. And then, hopefully, finally, there's this choice which remains for each one of us to allow this following of Jesus, this life with Jesus, this Christian or Catholic worldview to animate all of our decisions. And then we start to bear fruit. Then we start to change things. Charbel MacLuff, the saint that we celebrate today, born in 1828 in or around, was a very, very quiet man, lived as a hermit in Lebanon, wasn't known by the world. I mean, he was known by the Lebanese in the locality for his holiness, for his adoration. But again, he's a hermit, so he wasn't a missionary. He didn't travel around. So relatively obscure to the rest of the world. But a man of great sanctity and a man of great prayer. Now, I should have looked this up beforehand, but as far as I'm aware, when you look up Charbel online, the only picture I've ever seen of him, apart from maybe artist representations afterwards, but the only picture you ever see of him is that picture of him with his head bowed. And as far as I remember, a lady was at his tomb and she took a photo of her family, or whoever her friends were there with her. She took this photo. And when she got the photo developed, what did she see on the photo? But not just her husband and son or daughter, whoever else was in the picture, but this priest with his head bowed in prayer. And that's the picture that we have that's gone viral in today's lingo. That's the picture that's gone around the world of Charbel. Not only that, but a certain oil would come from his tomb, which then people collected as a relic. This oil then went around the world. People were blessing themselves with it, asking for his intercession before the Lord, and many miracles were worked. So what's interesting is, if you follow the Lord, if we follow what the Lord says, our mission continues even after our death. He died at the end of the 19th century, and yet his mission continues into the 21st century. Why? Because he followed the Lord. He's bearing fruit 30, 60, 100 times, even after his death. Same with Padre Pio, died in 1968. He's still converting people, still working miracles. So when we follow the Lord, you see, it goes way beyond us, way beyond our human ability, way beyond even our lifetime. So the good Lord knows what he's doing. And we ask now that, through the prayers of Saint Charbel today, that our worldview will be purified, that we will recognize that all of these good things that the Lord has given us, like freedom and equality and autonomy, and even beauty, the beauty of the world, that all these things will be purified, and that they will be redirected towards God, our ultimate goal. Amen.